You think so? All right.
Yep, we're there.
All right.
There we go.
Good. Okay, we're going to call to order the meeting of the local planning and zoning agency. Can I have a roll call, please?
Rick Purcell,
Here?
Ed Macklitz,
Here.
Dan Sullivan absent, Mike Lentini absent, Alan King,
Here.
Aaron Trauger,
Here.
David Melito.
Here.
Very good. Okay, do we have any comments or approval of our previous meeting minutes?
Move for approval of the minutes. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's passed. Unfinished business. The attorney is going to give us a report on what would happen with our static electronic changeable sign. Matt, you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Perfect, perfect.
All right, good, good. Yeah, so at the last meeting, we had talked about the CH District's proposal to be permitted to have an electronic changeable copy sign there when it's prohibited in all districts by the code. And in looking at the code specifically, I'm looking at section 113.307, and A provides that electronic changeable copy signs are prohibited in all zoning districts, while B provides manual changeable copy signs, and it reads that manual changeable copy signs are permitted only in the T, RP, C, C1, C2, SC, and CH zoning districts. So to start off with, we're already looking at the town, both in that provision and in other parts of the sign ordinance, does distinguish between various districts with respect to what types of signs, not with respect to what is on the sign in terms of speech, whether it's the content of it or the topic discussed or the idea, but with respect to the type of sign. And that's an important distinction because the courts, as a threshold matter in evaluating this, look first at whether or not the ordinance goes to the content-based portion of the sign or whether it's a content-neutral ordinance. Content-based is usually defined as something that restricts a particular type of speech, and that involves either the topic or the idea that's on the sign, whereas a content-neutral sign or a content-neutral restriction on a sign restricts the form or the way that the information is communicated. And the courts have largely looked at the regulation of technology and manner or the way the information is communicated as a content neutral, with a content neutral analysis. So in this particular circumstance, we're not prohibiting the other zoning districts such as C1, C2, SC, T, etc., based on the content. It's a content neutral ordinance in that it's the manner in which the ordinance restricts particular types of signs. So in this particular context, we're looking at a situation where you have the electronic changeable copy sign being prohibited in all zoning districts. So I think as we discussed a little bit at the last meeting, in order to justify that, we'd have to justify it by showing that it's a narrowly tailored restriction and it serves a substantial government interest. And when looking at ordinances that restrict content neutral signage, in looking at what does that mean to be narrowly tailored to serve a substantial government interest, courts have permitted those types of restrictions based on the recognition of aesthetics or traffic safety, the recognition that there are different aesthetics and different reasons for different signs in different zoning districts, and sort of expanding on that a little bit in terms of what does it mean with aesthetics. That can include things like the lighting environment, the scale of the buildings, the overall character of the surrounding community, maintaining the overall aesthetics that the town wants, and then also traffic safety. So I think in this particular circumstance, you can certainly look at the code and say, well, the other districts, other than, because in the manual changeable copy signs ordinance, it excludes certain districts. It excludes the residential districts, the R1A, the R1B, the R2, the R3. And I'm sure, and I don't know, I obviously don't know when it was drafted, but I'm sure the thought process going into that was, well, in order to preserve those residential districts and the aesthetics of it, and the character of that community, we decided, or the town decided, that manual changeable copy signs are only going to be permitted in sort of the commercial districts, or the T districts, or the SC and the CH zoning districts. So I think in this particular case, you can certainly argue that there is an aesthetic basis, if that's the reason you want to do it. I mean, you would have to come up with some sort of aesthetic basis, but I think one of the problems here is you're dealing with whether or not it's narrowly tailored, because even though you're dealing with the CH zoning district, it's essentially one parcel. So I think if you're going to essentially carve out an exception for an electronic changeable copy sign only for the CH district, we need to document the basis for that. Why does the town feel that that particular parcel and that particular zoning district and no other zoning district needs to have electronic changeable copy signs? And what is the substantial government interest that is progressing? What's the purpose of it? Why does the town need to permit that particular parcel, that particular zone, to have an electronic changeable copy sign when no other zone is permitted to have that? Do I think you can make that argument? Can you, from a policy standpoint, can you provide why there are aesthetic reasons for that? Why is it that this particular zoning district should have an electronic changeable sign when others should not? That's for discussion amongst the board. From a practical standpoint, and I think as was discussed at the last meeting, is this something that could get challenged in court? I think it's very possible. We're well aware of the other prior lawsuit based on noise ordinances, and I don't want to necessarily go through all the arguments that could be presented in a case, but it certainly has the possibility of opening up a lawsuit if the board is inclined to recommend that the electronic changeable copy sign ordinance be amended to permit it for the CH district.
That was very deep. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Bring it back to the board for some discussion.
So can I ask you a question, Matt?
Sure.
So it sounds like our first task would be to determine, number one, what I think you termed it, substantial government interest is in allowing the CH zone to have this change relative to the others. Establishing
Correct.
what that is, and then if that can be established, does this change, is it considered narrowly tailored to meet that objective?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, with that, the question is, what is the substantial government interest that the town has to make this change in just the CH zone, I guess?
Well, I don't know.
And it's actually on one parcel.
Yeah,
Which it-
that's
which
the
is
issue.
one parcel.
And the issue happens to be a church, which I don't know if that could be a problem later or not. I don't know how that works. As if government saying that, I mean, Yeah,
I think probably it might look funny, but I think if it was, you know, just in the C zone and not the C1 or the church or the others, we still have the same thing, the same questions posed to us, the same charge of what we'd have to
Yeah.
determine here. Again, I go back to, what is the flavor of our town? What do we want the makeup of this town to be? Do we want to increase the illumination of these types of signs, or do we want to keep it more subdued like it is now? So I guess we first have to determine what that objective is, and is that then a substantial government interest that this would be tailored towards?
I have a question also.
please, yeah.
If you- At this point, the discussion is just if it is conceptually, I mean, we don't have an ordinance change or we don't have a zoning change or a text amendment or anything in front of us to review.
No, this is
Right, it's
just the
really just-
attorney's report today.
Reviewing whether or not
Well,
that
or
should
if we
be
would review it.
pursued at
yeah.
all. Right.
Today, it's just unfinished business that we're here to hear the attorney's report so that we can see what all that means to us.
But isn't he asking for us to discuss and provide a recommendation on one or two of these?
I can clarify a little bit.
Please.
You're charged today with forming a recommendation or a non-recommendation for council to move forward with ordinance hearings to pass this. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes,
That ordinance would then come back before us before going to council?
That's correct.
So we, though, would be directing staff to spend time in researching and creating a ordinance if staff is the one that is,
I believe at this point, if you recommend that the town council look into doing this, it will go back to town council for a vote and discussion. At that time, they will direct Matt to create an ordinance.
thank you.
But the contents of that ordinance are, it's suggesting one of these.
they haven't done it yet.
No, I don't think,
No.
I think what you're looking at is the next agenda item further down. I don't think
I
we
don't know
have
what it
the
is.
ordinance.
We're on C1. There is no ordinance at this time.
Right.
Town,
it's not for
town
that.
council is looking for a recommendation rather to move forward with updating the ordinance to allow the church zone to have a static electronic changeable sign. They're looking for a recommendation from you guys if you believe they should move forward with crafting an ordinance. At that time, it would go back to them. They would give Matt direction as to what they want to see the ordinance look like. He would create it. It would come back to you guys and go through the normal hearing process.
And just so I'm clear, this had gone before council previously, though, at which time they decided.
It
There-
went
it
before
was not.
council, there was a motion, and there was no second. So it came back to council for
And-
a request to
But what
be-
came before council? It was just the sign application? It
This.
wasn't an ordinance change?
No,
No,
it
it was
was
the
the
same question.
request to update the ordinance to
Okay,
allow the
okay.
church zone to have a
Okay,
sign.
so it just didn't get a second. I see.
Right. Yeah, well, there's,
So I guess the first question before, I mean, if we're gonna go forward, is identifying some interest specific to the church zone that would justify setting it apart for different regulation than other portions of the city.
that's in the government's interest.
And I think if I recall from last meeting, some of the church's justifications were things like dangerous traffic conditions or dangerous to go out and change during stormy weather or things like that, but those wouldn't necessarily be set apart from any other sign holder in the city that's also using changeable static signs at this point. So I don't know if there's some other interest either that we can come up with or that if the church wants to use as justification. But I think identification of whatever, either, you know, health, safety, aesthetic, whatever interest would be kind of our baseline first choice.
Yeah, the one thing that we really had asked Matt to do when we asked him to do something was to tell us if there was any danger to the town if we were to do this. And obviously, his opinion was there's a danger. He said there could be a lawsuit, and that's something to take into consideration. I mean, that was the question, sort of. Yeah. So, yeah. Do you have should we listen to public comment? Are any more here right now? Or?
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to open up then?
Someone like to say something? Yes, please. Sure. Come on up and give us your name and address. And
Carrie Foy. I'm a current council member here for the town of Indialantic. So I appreciate Matt's response very much. I just wanted to say, as an elder in this town, and even in my youth, I've never made a decision based on if I might get sued. And that's how I have governed my life. That's how I governed myself on town council, when I was on various boards here in the town before town council. So I don't think that's a direction that this town would want to take. I sure wouldn't. We get sued for some really silly things, and we're being sued right now from not so silly things. And we got sued over the zip line at Nance Park, and we took the zip line down, but for a different reason than just because we got sued. So I also wanted to comment on the 2 previous static signs that were put up here in town, and DeJean when he put his up. These are apples and oranges scenarios because those signs had continual movement. The sign that's going to be at the church is going to be static. It's not going to be moved. It's just going to be changed electronically once or more a week. Right now, it's only changed on Mondays. So it's not going to have any rolling dialogue. It's just going to stay there. The lighting is actually going to be more muted because it's going to have a blue background, like a Carolina blue. That's a shout out to my Tar Heels. That it's lighter than the white black background that's currently there as well. So, and the last thing I want to mention is the former mayor, who is my adversary in this, who's also my friend for many years. He said, he made a comment about why should the church be special? Well, I'd like to tell you why the church is special. The church is special because it was here before this town was even formed. The church itself, it's the only church in town. It is a gathering place for communities. It's not just a religious staple in this town. They preclude with the fireworks ceremony. They have bands. They had the Boy Scouts out there doing the flags, and we have an ice cream truck that comes in that provides ice cream free of charge to anyone in our community, and the church pays for that. And if I may approach, I have a handout. Is that all right?
Please, yeah.
Thank you. This is what makes us special. This is just the July and August calendars. This is what this church does for this community every single month. And the one thing that they charge for is the preschool. That's the only thing that residents get charged for with their children that go there. So all of these activities and all of these resources are available for free to anyone in this community. Vacation Bible School, they have the Boy Scouts, they have concerts. That we have a concert coming up from some of the stellar members of our church choir that are doing free concerts, and there's always refreshments served. So that's what makes the church special. So if I was going to do anything special for any business in this town, that would be the one. So I think they have every right to stand alone. So I would appreciate your recommendation. That doesn't mean it's going to pass, because it still has to go through town council, and I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge as well. So, but your recommendation certainly will help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Dick Dunn, 330 Tampa Avenue. I'd like to just add some information that was just provided you, where the church is different. If you can remember the COVID outbreak that lasted for a number of years. Well, the church was used as a bulk distribution point to provide food for needy people throughout the Melbourne area. And there's also, within the church, there's a preschool with 92 students and 22 instructors. And it happens on occasion that information comes in that we have to go out and change the sign. And the person that changed the sign lives in Satellite Beach. And so we have to try to find them to come down. It has happened in the past that there's been a boil water notice. Well, that would be an important thing that we would put on the sign, to take off the church notice, to put that on there to notify the parents that there's a boil water notice. Either they're coming and the church's preschool is closed, or it's gonna, you could come pick up your child earlier. So there are things that happen that are not on a normal procedure. And all of the other things that were mentioned, everything that happens that's an outside activity is free. So it's a gathering place for people in the community, for concerts like the 4th of July, and Indialantic singers come in 2 or 3 times a year. So that church is packed with 300, 400 people. So if there's a change, we can't make an announcement, tornado coming or whatever it happened to be, that the concert's off, but we can put that onto the sign for local people, knowing that tonight there's not going to be a concert. So I appreciate you listening to my information, and hopefully it may impact on your decision. Thank you
very much. Anybody else? No? Bring it back to the board. By the way, your comments are well taken by me anyway. I just want you to know both. And yours, Dick, because it goes directly to the sign and why it's needed. I don't doubt that, all of that. And anything I say here, you got to remember that I was the president of the youth group there. I got married there. My son went there. So it's part of my life. My only issue, which is an issue, is at this point, I won't be making a recommendation. Somebody else might want to, but knowingly, my only issue would be knowingly doing something that I don't know if it's something that has to be done in a government's, for what our purpose would be in doing that. I mean, what you said, but it's still, it's a tough one for me. That's all I had to say. I don't have an exact thing. It's tough for me because I'm someone that grew up with the church here. But I don't know if changing the sign manually, which I used to do at my office all the time, in the rain and have no fun and get soaked and it stunk. I'm not sure about the ramifications. Possibly we'll get some more comments here, but I'm not sure. I'm just torn on it.
No, I understand. I understand the comments too, and I appreciate them. And like you, I've been in this town a long time. My wife was a preschool teacher there for 8 years. So, you know, there's probably a connection with that church to every resident in this town in some manner or fashion.
Sure.
And you know, it's truly appreciated. But as far as, you know, and I also, Ms. Foy, I don't make decisions out of whether I fear I'm gonna get sued or not, or the town's gonna get sued, or my business is gonna get sued. But when the first underlying threshold question is, what is the substantial interest in the town, that question has to be answered to the degree that it passes some kind of scrutiny if a lawsuit were to get filed and I don't have an answer to what that substantial interest is in the town. I don't know if anyone else does. So if we can't get past that first threshold question, I'm not comfortable with making a recommendation for this to be reviewed by the council either.
I would add, I guess, two things, kind of echoing some of those comments, I think, and especially the comments from the public. There's no doubt that the church is a pillar of the community, and a pretty ancient one at that, based off this predating the city. A lot of discussion or comments centered on all of the wonderful events that the church has, which is undoubtedly true, but they've been able to facilitate all of that up to this point with the static sign. I don't think any of that necessarily implicates the need for a different sign, since it's already been so successful in that regard. But just to the point of the difficulty in maybe getting boiled water notices or other kind of important safety messages up that other, you know, commercial properties or signed properties might not necessarily do, I think it does get a little squirrely if we use the fact that we like some of the content that they put on the sign as a justification for allowing changes. Those are my 2 points.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think just kind of echoing the board here too, I agree that the contributions of the church are huge in the community, and I think we're all happy to have that as part of our community. But I also don't see, there are those next boxes that you check and the unique scenario. I don't see how it would apply.
Thank you. So we're tasked with not just letting it sit. We're tasked with saying we either want it to go to council and we feel it's merited or not, correct? Correct? Should I ask Matt? Yeah. Hi, Matt.
Yes, yeah. Whether you recommend it to go to council to prepare an ordinance providing for that carve out for the CH district, or whether you deny that recommendation. That's what your vote would be.
Okay, I got you. All right, is there anybody making a motion?
I'll make a motion that we have to deny the recommendation to have the council review the modification to this ordinance.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. All right, next, we have a site plan modification, 107 7th Avenue. The applicant, West Indies Homeowners Association, is replacing the existing rear yard fences, separating the units with concrete block matching the existing. Is there anybody who wants to talk about that, or give us your name and address?
Hi there, Krista Ellingson, and I actually live in Indian Harbor.
Okay.
1130 Pine Trees, so we're actually contracted with them, so we're trying to assist the homeowners group there.
Okay,
So basically what they're, 1130 Pine Tree Drive, Indian Harbor. Part of what they're wanting to do is there's a block wall going around one side, along one side of the structure. And then there's the units that are together, and they're wanting to put a partial block wall in between the 4 units that are there, so it would be 3 walls to kind of give some privacy. And then the back part, which is where like a swell area is, would not be blocked in. That would be like a wood fence or something with gates so the lawnmower can get back and forth between the 3. I believe there's some across the street that are similar in nature, but this would be, it would just make it consistent with the block wall along the one side of the structure.
The 3 walls to be built would be built in the same location that the current fences are.
Yeah.
thank you. That was, yeah.
Stephen Ellingson.
And these are in the back of the unit?
Correct. They're in the rear. You can't see them from the public right of way or anything.
Okay. Do we have any questions of the applicant?
Can you explain a little bit more about that with the wall and the fence? Because there is some drainage considerations in the
So it
rear
would
of
be in the
these
same
units, right?
location that the current fences are at. But it's going to be 8 feet from the rear of the property line up is not going to be in any type of block wall in that drainage area. So if you look at the last page on the submittal, it says there it's going to be, what we're looking at getting permitted is to have a concrete block wall 17 linear feet from the unit, and there's a remaining of 8 feet at the rear of the property line that will not have that wall. So that's where that swell is back there with that drainage.
That'll still be just a regular
Cor-
wood fence.
Correct.
Wood
That would be
fence.
just a regular wood fence with the gates going in between the 3.
The new block wall will stop right where the current gates are.
Sure.
Has staff reviewed the grading plan to make sure that none of the drainage is impacted?
This is what was approved originally a few years ago, and to change it, the water's still gonna go where it always has.
Okay.
Back, there's a swale across the back,
Okay, I guess I just didn't see the grading plan.
so it won't displace any water any differently.
Okay, if it's not blocking any water, that's, so those interior lots will be able to continue to drain where they need to the, okay.
So as far as you're concerned, there's no other issues that?
No.
Okay. Thanks. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else from the board? Any motions?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, motion is passed. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you. Next is to discuss and provide a recommendation. Could we get some more guidance on what this is? It was pretty open. The prohibited uses, a number, the first number 2 there, ordinance 2026-12.
Yeah, 2026-12 is an ordinance that was brought before council. They've already had the first reading of it, and it's basically in the C and C1 zone, allowing outdoor uses where we have no outdoor uses right now allowed, and it'd be basically limiting it to within like an enclosed fenced area, and it has to relate somehow to the businesses. In other words, they couldn't just, start having, food. They don't have any food there. They just can't start having food and things like that or other events. They have to somehow relate it to the business they have there for a business tax receipt.
Okay, so if it's a gym, they could do gym stuff. If it's a restaurant, they could do restaurant stuff.
Correct.
A dress store, they could, addresses.
It has to be addressed by that.
Okay.
And basically, it arose from one property. I hate to say for one property alone, but the addressing in the whole town was down at the Cottage Road's old building and stuff.
Okay.
So some of the things that were going on there are outside. They're not supposed to have any outside business.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do these, I mean, there's like the cafe or the was it beachside, they have.
They can have, so that's allowed, that type of situation's allowed to have, because it's an outdoor cafe. They have the fence up there and they meet the criteria of how many seats on the outside per there, just like Dijon's used to have, and he still has a deck area outside. That was allowed, that's why the fence area is. But the other type of business, they don't have, they're not supposed to do any type of business outside besides the outdoor cafe, which is very specific.
To an outdoor cafe?
Yeah.
Is this business that
Well,
wants to have this, is that an outdoor?
They've been doing like wedding venues there and things like that.
So let me ask you a question. Is this is related to a business that wants to or doesn't want to have this passed?
It's related to a business, well, it became before council, one of the council members brought it up. Council member McKnight
Okay.
came forward, and she's very pro-business and things, and that's her background. And so she had proposed this because we were having issues where things weren't allowed and code violations were going out.
Like you're talking about like Casa Bonita, is that the
Yeah,
area?
Casa Bonita.
So,
Couldn't think of the name for a second, the old.
that's okay, yeah. So now if, with this not in place, they're not supposed to do some of the things they've been doing
And yes,
for a long time.
yes,
If this is in place, then they would be able to do the events that relate to what.
some events that they're doing, some they're still violating.
Okay,
That's
so
one
it
of the
still might
things.
be violent. Okay, that's not, we're not talking about whether they're violating. This is just an idea that they can do what they want to do.
They could do certain things that they're not allowed to do now, yes.
Because it's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, so I see that it looks like a relatively simple text amendment within that section of code. How are setbacks and fence locations and parking and, the area that they're starting to use, how is that being addressed for the,
They have to have a specific area of grass, courtyard. They can't do it in parking spaces or parking lots or on sidewalks.
Yeah.
So
It has to have a fence around it and things like that. We're not addressing any additional parking or anything like that.
so the outdoor space wouldn't require additional
Correct.
parking? Okay.
I don't understand.
Go ahead.
It's talking about relating to prohibited uses. But what are the prohibited uses? I don't get it. I mean, I don't
The
understand.
outdoor, yeah.
Yeah.
right now, the way it reads, you can't do anything outside in C and C1. It has to be inside 4 walls.
Okay,
Oh,
okay,
oh.
okay,
Yeah.
now I get it.
Yeah, I was confusing it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So,
So now what it's gonna say is that assuming certain conditions, assuming that it's contained or whatever else, things that you're allowed to do in C and C1 inside, you could theoretically do outside, assuming you meet the requirements.
Correct.
Okay.
Does,
Maybe-
oh, sorry.
this might be off subject, but
Okay.
you mentioned that they've done things that they were doing, and this isn't about them, but it is.
Correct.
So if they have, I mean, I've been through there, and since that place has all the way from people cutting hair to wine to snacks to dresses, they kind of cover the waterfront on what they do, right? But they still are violating things?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
They're not licensed as a venue and, you
I
know,
got it. Okay.
they have a coffee shop in there
Yeah.
and things like that. They're not in a wine place, but they could do that type of stuff where they're licensed for.
Interesting.
So they're having like,
Alright.
they were doing farmers markets. They're not that for that.
Oh, I got you. So they
Things
go a
like-
little further, but
Yeah.
this would let them do the core things that they
Yes.
want to do.
They can,
Okay.
So we have a lot of uses that are allowed in those, right? Where I can see, I'm all for outdoor use, you know, as far as there are some of the, how do we keep, you know, I think there's like, you can have a dry cleaners, or you can have a, you know, what are the other uses that you may not want their outdoor use, but it is associated
Yeah, for
and
example,
compatible with their business.
like, they've tried to have food trucks there, which is not allowed in that area. They still wouldn't allow food trucks, because our food truck ordinance forbids it and things, except for employees in that C zone. And so there's been things like that before, and they've held it outside the fence area, and done things that aren't related. Let's say, you know, trying to go off there, Cliff might remember a few items. Let's say, if they,
It was mostly the food trucks and,
yeah, if they want to have a plant sale, they don't have, I'm just giving an example, they haven't had a plant sale that I'm aware of, but they don't have a business center that sells plants. So they just couldn't decide to have plant sales and things like that.
Okay, so it gives them the opportunity to do what they do, but they still have to live up to what they don't do, they can't do. So we're
Correct.
not changing any of
Yeah.
that. It was kind of confusing with the prohibited. I thought
Is
we
this
were.
the business just immediately north of the 7-Eleven?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, this will go with anybody in that district, we're just,
It's the whole district. So basically, you're talking from,
Or commercial.
yeah, whole commercial district,
gotcha.
from, you know, Publix, well, not Publix itself, but all the way south on South Miramar, on the east side, or west side of the road, all of Fifth Avenue, and then down Miramar on the east side to where the Wendy's used to be, or the Boardwalk place is now.
got it.
I had a question, I guess, about the enclosure language. It says that they occur within an enclosed outdoor area such as a courtyard or fenced-in yard. Courtyard doesn't necessarily seem that enclosed. Does it have to be 4 walls? Does it have to be 3? Is it 2? And then also, could somebody erect some sort of temporary partitions to make a temporary enclosed outdoor area?
Did you hear that question, Matt?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, certainly the intent of this is to have an enclosed area, and the language of such as a courtyard or a fenced-in yard, the purpose was to give definitions or to give examples of an enclosed area. My understanding from the discussions with the town council is that these were certainly intended to be permanent structures. It wasn't intended to be a temporary structure that was erected on the property. But if that's a concern, that's something that we can certainly amend to include, such as a 4-walled courtyard or a permanently fenced-in yard.
I think it's just a question right now of what it says,
Okay.
right?
Mike, would that fall under a special event more for temporary things being set up like that, possibly?
No.
Okay.
That might not be a bad, you know, kind of to cover a loophole that we haven't thought about that you brought up.
Well, then it also, the other question that would go with that, I guess, is if you don't have a fence, but you want to do something, you got a big yard, and you want to go out there and put some, whatever, whatever you might do, that you do, should they or should they not be able to put something temporary so that they don't have to build a fence? Because they can't, I don't know, yeah, or would that, you know, I don't know.
I don't think you want to make it where it's hard to get in and out of. And I don't think you want to
Right.
make it where it's going to be a setback issue and things like that. I think it's just to allow outdoor things in a
Yeah.
landscaped area, basically, whether it's paved with paver stones or just grass. I
Yeah,
think that's the gist of it.
right,
So
just,
the gist is not to outlaw anything that they're already doing. It's just, if they would like to do it outside in an enclosed area, they can do it, assuming that it's an allowed use in the zoning that they're in.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, that simplified all of it.
That's what I do.
Well done. Any other comments? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make one to approve it.
Okay, you have a second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Aye? All opposed?
Aye. Oppose it.
Okay.
I think it could use more clarification, just as far as how it's going to be interpreted.
Okay, so
3-0.
passes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
3-0.
No. No.
3-2.
Oh, I think it's 3-0. That kinda-
Yeah, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It says, hold on.
I know. I go against the grain, I don't get credit for it.
You got it.
Pat.
3-2.
3-2. Yes.
What does the next one mean?
Yeah, please. Might as well start off with you telling us.
So I'm going to let our planner up here, Kelly, is going to explain that one. We have to come in compliance with some stuff that statutes that change and things, and be able to expedite
All
the
right.
administration of.
Kelly, come on up. Give us your name and address.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Kelly Delmonico, planning consultant on behalf of the town. So I've been working with the town on the background of a few items, and what happens to come about every single year lately from the state government is a bunch of mandates that are requirements of a small little local government. So one of those is administrative platting. So I can explain all that and answer any questions that you might have. It's kind of a lengthy ordinance because we cleaned up several things throughout the code that were related to this as well. So what we're doing today is we request your review and approval of the included administrative platting ordinance to comply with Florida statutes. And this goes back to the 2025 Senate Bill 784, which went into effect on July 1st. So local governments have been rolling in their ordinances to comply with this since then. And what it does is it mandates local governments to implement an administrative approval process for subdivision plats. So that means it no longer comes before zoning and planning, it no longer goes before council. The intent of this legislation was to streamline approval process for code compliant plats by removing the requirement for public hearings. The proposed amendments that you see in the ordinance in front of you do several things. The first is that it establishes an administrative approval process for preliminary and final plats. Again, it doesn't go in front of public hearings or meetings because really basically a plat is just checking to make sure the lots meet the dimensional standards, you're meeting all the code requirements, so it's eliminating that process. It also designates the building department as the administrative authority to accept and process those applications, and then it designates the town manager as the administrative official who's responsible for making that final determination of approval, approval with conditions, or denial. And if you make a denial, you have to be very clear about exactly what codes are not being met and why you're denying it. So it should be very subjective and not objective. That's the process it's trying to get to. It assigns other responsibilities to the town manager or their designee. It provides definitions for some new terms that we put in. It extends the subdivision approval for 2 years, and we can talk about that too, but right now it's at 1 year, and you're very lucky to get your financing in place and actually make a subdivision happen in 1 year. So extending that an additional year. And then lastly, it sets forth and revises submittal, review, and approval processes for the preliminary and final plats. So we ask that you find the code amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan. You'll see in the staff report, there's a little section there about consistency with the comp plan. And we recommend approval of the administrative platting code amendment to comply with Florida statutes.
And I have a question.
Sure.
This is just for that portion of that new law regarding platting, correct?
It is to comply with that
Okay.
state law, correct.
Okay.
And then there's a couple, there's other things we fixed up in the code while we were in there. We might as well fix some more of it while we're there. So things related to title opinions and when they're required and what process it follows.
I have kind of a related question to that. The first two sections deal with the transportation facilities and concurrency evaluation findings sections.
Yep.
What is the purpose of including those? They don't because those are covered by the hospital.
Correct, but those are all reviewed during the plating process. And for those, if you can look in there, the only thing that's really changing in there is instead of having the building official analyzing concurrency and transportation facilities, we're assigning that to the town manager, who can then use the town engineer or like whatever that person who would actually review that document would be. So it's just part of the review is changing. Because I know Cliff does not want to review transportation concurrency. So it's all related to the subdivision approval process. You're welcome.
This isn't related to the new rule that was 803 or whatever it was, the statute? Okay, it's not related to that new whole
No, all
thing.
that stuff we're still, so you'll
Yeah.
see me coming
Oh,
back.
I'm sure.
Because we're still trying to catch up from 2025.
Yeah.
And so we just keep getting, I haven't even analyzed yet 2026, because there are things that we're going to have to start doing that were passed in 2025 that now come October 1st, we have to start reporting. I know Cliff, there's a lot of things for building officials to take care of with that too. It's just, it's been a lot for local governments to keep up with.
So we're going to hear more about a lot of this because we have to change a lot of what we're doing based upon what the state's mandating that we have to do.
Correct. Some of the state mandates, they require us to actively go in and make changes. Other things, we don't actually have to go in and change. So for example, over the past 3 years, every year there's been Live Local Act and Live Local Act amendments, which are related to allowing affordable housing in commercial, industrial, or mixed-use properties. We don't actually have to go change our code for any of that. If someone came to us, we would just comply with Florida statutes. So I have noticed other local governments, especially the bigger ones, they do change their codes to keep up with that, but because they're also trying to encourage it, or they might offer waivers or different things, but then every year they have to go back and amend it to keep up with that. So
we don't have to. Good.
we don't, we will comply with Florida statutes as it comes to us, but we don't have anything in our code that that is against those requirements.
Right. I got it. Okay, any more questions?
I had one. So my understanding in the bill and the current definitions in chapter 177, the plating chapter, is that this is administrative approval for plats and replats, which seems like a final plat based off the definition. I know some other cities have retained planning and zoning and council review of preliminary plats. Was there any thought to doing that or?
Correct.
All administrative?
Some local governments have tried to keep the preliminary plat as part of the public hearing process. I don't think that's what the intent was of Florida statutes, so they have chosen to take a path that may change in the next year or wasn't very clear in Florida statutes. But reading it, it's supposed to, the intent of it was supposed to create a completely administrative process. But yes, you're right, other governments have gone a different way with that, like the city of Melbourne.
And I would agree with Kelly's comments on that. I think that was the intent.
Any other questions, Kelly? No?
No.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I heard a motion.
Second?
Well, all in favor? Aye. Passed.
Thanks, everyone.
Well done. Thank you. All right, we're going to have a long report from the building official now.
I think we've done enough.
I think you've been right in the middle of that one. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, second?
I got a lot of seconds on that one.
All in favor? We all are leaving.